Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Aliens tried to stop us. We built a warship that broke all their rules. Commander James Walker stared out the large window of Earth's day station. Massive alien ships hung in the black sky like giant metal islands. His hands tightened into fists behind his back. These visitors from the stars called themselves the Galactic Council. They had come 3 months ago, not with bombs or lasers, but with papers and rules. You understand that these terms are final. Ambassador Krell's voice was smooth but cold. The alien skin was almost clear, showing strange organs pulsing underneath. Earth may join our community of worlds, but only if you agree to these limits. Walker watched as Earth's leaders looked at each other around the large round table. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the station's air systems. On the table sat the treaty, a set of rules that would change human history forever. President Garcia picked up the document with a slight tremble in her hand. And if we refuse? Krell's 4 eyes blinked one after another in a rolling motion. Then Earth remains alone. We control all paths to the stars. You would be isolated. The threat was clear. Isolation meant no trade, no new technology, no protection from other dangerous species that might find Earth. The Council ships in orbit were a constant reminder of how small humanity still was. Walker listened as Krell explained the rules again. No warships bigger than 100 meters, no advanced weapons, no more than 50 military ships total, strict limits on engine technology. It was like putting a leash on a dog they feared might bite. We need time to discuss, said President Garcia. Krell nodded his long, thin head. You have one Earth day. When the aliens left the room, the arguments began. Some leaders wanted to fight, to refuse the unfair rules. Others feared what would happen if they said no. Walker stayed quiet, watching and thinking. Later that night, Walker couldn't sleep. He stood in his small room on the station, looking down at the blue Earth. 28 years in the Navy had taught him to read between the lines. This wasn't about safety. It was about fear. They're afraid of us, he said to his empty room. His computer beeped. A message from Admiral Thompson. Meeting, Sector 7, 400 hours. Highest secrecy. The underwater base in the Pacific Ocean was one of Earth's best-kept secrets. Walker's small submarine docked at 3:58 a.m. Security scans checked his identity 3 times before he was allowed into the meeting room. Admiral Thompson was already there with 5 others. Dr. Reed, a physicist with wild hair and tired eyes. General Collins of the Global Defense Force. Director Lee from Intelligence. Dr. Morgan, a materials expert. And Rivera, the best electronics engineer in North America. Thank you for coming, said Thompson. The Admiral was a tall, stern woman with gray hair cut short against her skull. What I'm about to share does not leave this room. She turned on a screen showing the treaty. We're going to sign this tomorrow. Walker couldn't hide his surprise. We're giving in? Thompson's face showed no emotion. On paper, yes. But I didn't invite you here to surrender. She pointed to a specific line in the document. Look closer. The treaty limits military vessels. Dr. Reed smiled for the first time, but says nothing about research ships. Exactly. Thompson nodded. The Council thinks they've caged us, but they've only told us what shape the bars are. She pressed a button, and the screen changed to show plans for a ship unlike anything Walker had seen before. This is Project Phoenix, she said, a ship that will obey every rule while breaking their spirit. Officially, it will be a deep space research vessel. Unofficially, a warship, Walker finished, studying the clever design hidden in plain sight. The Council thinks we're simple and predictable, Thompson continued. That's their mistake. Throughout history, humans have excelled when backed into a corner. They're limiting us because they fear what we might become. General Collins cleared his throat. Intelligence has uncovered disturbing patterns in Council behavior toward emerging species. They claim peaceful intentions, but their actions suggest control, not cooperation. Director Lee nodded. 3 advanced civilizations have mysteriously declined after Council assistance. We don't intend to be the 4th. Walker looked at the plans again. This won't be easy. The Council will watch us closely. One mistake and... That's why I need you to lead this, Thompson interrupted. Your engineering background, your combat experience, your ability to think creatively, you're perfect for this mission. Walker felt the weight of what she was asking. If we're caught, it's more than our careers. It would mean war when we're not ready. And if we do nothing, Dr. Reed said quietly, we accept a future where humans never reach their potential, where we're forever limited by someone else's fear. The room fell silent. Walker looked at each face around the table. They were asking him to risk everything on a hunch that the friendly aliens might not be so friendly. The treaty signing is tomorrow, Thompson said. I need your answer now, Commander. Walker thought about history, about how often trust had been misplaced, about how civilizations that couldn't defend themselves eventually disappeared. The Romans built roads to move their armies, he said finally. The Council built treaties to stop ours. Both made the mistake of teaching their methods to others. He straightened his back. I'm in. Thompson allowed herself a small smile. Good. You leave for the asteroid belt in 3 days. Officially, you're leading a mining operation. Unofficially, you'll be building humanity's insurance policy. As the others discussed details, Walker's mind was already racing ahead. The Council thought they knew human limits. They had studied our weapons, our ships, our tactics, but they had missed something important. Humans don't just break rules, they transform them. The treaty would be signed tomorrow, and in the shadows, Project Phoenix would rise. The old mining station floated silently among the asteroids. On paper, it was Mining Outpost 37B, abandoned after the platinum veins ran dry. In reality, it was now Phoenix Base, the secret birthplace of humanity's future. Commander Walker stepped out of the transport ship and looked around the main hangar. 3 months had passed since the treaty signing. The station still looked mostly abandoned, with old equipment gathering dust and lights flickering in the corridors. Perfect cover. It's not much to look at, said Dr. Reed, walking up beside him. The physicist looked even more tired than before, but there was fire in his eyes. That's the point, Walker replied. The Council won't look twice at a dead mining operation. They walked through the station, passing small groups of workers disguised as miners and researchers. Everyone here had been handpicked and sworn to secrecy. Most had family on Earth. A few had lost loved ones during the brief skirmishes when the Council first arrived. This is our main work area, Reed said, pressing his hand against a scanner hidden inside an old control panel. A large wall slid open, revealing a vast chamber that had once been the main mining bay. Now it held something else entirely, the beginnings of a ship broken into sections that didn't look like they belonged together. Walker nodded in approval. If anyone comes to inspect, each piece looks like separate research equipment. Exactly, Reed grinned. The front section is officially a deep space radiation study module. The middle is a gravitational wave detector. The rear section is just mining equipment storage. Walker walked around the pieces, studying the clever designs. How's the propulsion system coming? Reed led him to a sealed chamber where a strange engine sat on testing blocks. This is my favorite part. The Council thinks they're limiting us with their approved technology list, but they don't understand how humans use tools. He pointed to various parts of the engine. This uses only materials and technology the treaty allows, but we've arranged them in ways they never imagined. It's like they gave us a piano but only allowed us to play certain notes. They didn't realize we could create new songs with those same notes. Walker smiled. And weapons. Follow me. They entered a heavily shielded room where Dr. Morgan was testing what looked like mining lasers. The gray-haired woman looked up from her work. These are officially asteroid cutting tools, she explained, but with some adjustments to the focusing crystals. She pressed a button, and a beam shot out, slicing through a thick metal plate as if it were paper. Will the Council detect the energy signature? Walker asked. That's where I come in, said Rivera, appearing from behind a console. The young engineer pointed to a device attached to the weapon. This dampening field makes the energy output look like normal mining operations to their sensors. We're just breaking up rocks. Walker spent the rest of the day touring the facility, meeting the team, and reviewing progress. By evening, he gathered everyone in the main hall. Nearly 100 people crowded into the space, all working on different aspects of the secret project. I won't lie to you, Walker said, his voice echoing in the metal chamber. What we're doing is dangerous. If the Council discovers us, we could trigger the very conflict we're trying to prevent. He paused, looking at their determined faces. But sometimes the greater risk is doing nothing. The Council claims to welcome us as equals, but their rules say otherwise. They fear our potential, and history shows that fear often leads to preemptive action. Walker pointed to the ship pieces visible through the large windows. Project Phoenix isn't about starting a war. It's about ensuring we can protect ourselves if their true intentions ever turn hostile. It's about keeping humanity's future in human hands. The room erupted in applause. These people had given up normal lives to work in secret on an asteroid. They believed in the mission. 6 months into construction, the ship was taking shape. The separate pieces were now clearly parts of a whole. What had begun as scattered sections was becoming a vessel unlike any humanity had built before. But progress brought danger. Council inspection ships began making regular patrols through the asteroid belt, monitoring mining activities. "They're getting suspicious," Director Lee reported during her monthly visit. "Our supply runs are drawing attention." Walker nodded. They had been smuggling materials through dozens of small civilian ships, each carrying just enough to avoid notice, but the pattern was becoming visible. "We need a distraction," Walker decided. The opportunity came 2 weeks later. A Council patrol ship approached the station for a surprise inspection. Walker was ready. "Welcome to Outpost 37B," he said, greeting the four-armed inspector at the airlock. "We're conducting deep space research here. Nothing exciting." The alien sensors scanned constantly as Walker led him through carefully prepared areas of the station. Everything dangerous was hidden behind special walls that blocked scanning technology. "What is happening in the East Sector?" the inspector asked suddenly, its antenna twitching with suspicion. Walker kept his face calm while his mind raced. The East Sector contained key weapon components, impossible to explain. "Old mining equipment," he said smoothly. "Very unstable, in fact." A massive explosion rocked the station. Emergency alarms blared. What was that? The inspector's forearms reached for scanning tools. "The unstable equipment I mentioned," Walker shouted over the noise. "We need to evacuate this area immediately." In the confusion, Walker's team rushed the inspector back to his ship. The explosion, carefully planned and controlled, had destroyed an empty section of the station, but created enough chaos to end the inspection. After the Council ship departed, Walker gathered his lead engineers. "They'll be watching us more closely now," he warned. "We need to move the most sensitive work deeper into the asteroid field." Dr. Reed nodded. "We're still on schedule, but we'll need to be more careful with power usage. Any unusual energy spikes will bring them back." Walker looked through the viewport at the distant stars. Out there, the Council was spreading its influence, its rules, its control. Earth had gained access to some new technologies from the treaty. But at what cost? Their freedom to grow, to explore, to defend themselves, all limited by alien fear. "We have 1 year to finish this ship," Walker told his team. "After that, I believe the Council will tighten restrictions even further. They're watching how fast we adapt to the technologies they've shared." "We'll be ready," Dr. Morgan promised. "Humans work best under pressure." As the team returned to work, Walker studied the ship's growing outline against the blackness of space. The Phoenix was taking shape, not just a vessel of metal and energy, but a symbol of humanity's refusal to be caged. The Council had made rules to contain them, but they had forgotten that humans had been breaking rules since they first looked up at the stars and decided to reach them. 4 years had passed since Project Phoenix began. The ship was now 60% complete, hidden deep in the asteroid belt. What had started as separate pieces was now clearly a powerful vessel, even though much work remained. Commander Walker stood in the newly finished bridge, running his hand along the captain's chair. Screens lit up the circular room, showing the ship's systems and the space around them. The bridge still had exposed wires and missing panels, but it was taking shape. "She's beautiful," said Dr. Reed, entering the bridge with a tablet in his hand. 4 more months, and the engine system will be fully online. Walker nodded. "And weapons?" "Dr. Morgan says the main systems are ready for testing. We just need to find a safe time and place." Their conversation was interrupted when the bridge door slid open. Marcus Gray, the project's security officer, walked in with a serious look on his face. Gray was younger than most senior staff, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Commander, we need to talk," Gray said, his voice tense. "Privately." Walker followed Gray to a small meeting room off the main corridor. Inside, Gray closed the door and activated a sound-blocking device. "What is it?" Walker asked. Gray placed a data pad on the table. "I've been reviewing Council communications. Something doesn't add up." "Explain." "For 4 years, we've been building this ship because we believe the Council has hidden intentions, that they might turn against us." Gray's eyes locked with Walker's. "But where's the proof?" "All I see is a peaceful alliance. They've shared medical technology that saved millions of lives. They've helped clean our oceans." Walker frowned. "You know why we're here, Gray. The treaty restrictions are unfair." "Yes," Gray cut in, "but maybe they're just being careful. Maybe we're the dangerous ones, building a secret warship while pretending to be friends. The room fell silent. Walker studied the younger man carefully. Gray had been with the project from the start, one of their most dedicated team members. This sudden doubt was troubling. You've seen the intelligence reports, Walker said finally, a pattern of how the Council treats rising species. Gray shook his head. Reports based on limited data and assumptions, Commander. What if we're wrong? What if we fired the first shot in a war that didn't need to happen? Walker leaned forward. This isn't about firing first. It's about making sure we can defend ourselves if necessary. That's what every arms race in history has claimed, Gray replied. I joined this project to protect Earth. Now I'm not sure if we're protecting it or endangering it. The argument spread beyond their private meeting. Within days, the project team was divided. Some agreed with Gray, questioning whether they were overreacting to the Council's rules. Others remained convinced of the danger. At dinner in the station's mess hall, the tension was visible. People who had worked side by side for years now sat at separate tables, talking in low voices. Dr. Morgan joined Walker at his table. This isn't good, she said quietly. Division is the last thing we need right now. Walker nodded. Gray has valid concerns. That's what makes this difficult. Do you think he would? She didn't finish the question. Report us to the Council? Walker sighed. I don't know. He believes he's doing the right thing, whatever that is. The next morning, Gray was gone. His quarters were empty, and a small transport ship was missing from a hangar. Walker called an emergency meeting of the senior staff. We have to assume Gray is going to the Council, he told them. We need to decide what to do. Dr. Reed looked pale. If he tells them about Phoenix, they'll come in force. We can't fight them yet. Could we hide the ship? Rivera suggested. Move it deeper into the belt. Not enough time, Walker said, and a power signature that big would be easy to track during transport. So we have two choices, Dr. Morgan said grimly. Abandon the project or accelerate it. Walker looked around the table. I need your honest opinions. Do we continue? The room was silent for a long moment. Finally, Dr. Reed spoke. I'd spent 4 years of my life here because I believe in what we're doing. Gray might be right. Maybe the Council means well, but what if he's wrong? Can we take that chance? One by one, the others nodded in agreement. Then it's decided, Walker said. We accelerate, full shifts around the clock. We launch in 6 months, ready or not. 2 weeks passed with no sign of Council ships. The team worked frantically, completing systems that should have taken months in just weeks. Sleep became a luxury as everyone pushed themselves to the limit. Then, unexpectedly, a small ship approached the station. Walker ordered battle stations, fearing the Council had found them, but it was Gray's transport returning alone. Walker met him in the hangar, flanked by armed security. Gray stepped out of his ship, looking exhausted but determined. You didn't go to the Council, Walker said, surprised. No, Gray replied. I went to find answers. In Gray's ship was a secure container filled with data drives. Gray had traveled to the edge of Council space, using his intelligence training to hack into restricted archives. What he found confirmed their worst fears. In the station's main hall, Gray showed the evidence to the entire team. The files revealed that 3 other species who had advanced too quickly had been secretly undermined by the Council, one through engineered resource shortages, another through political manipulation. The third simply disappeared from all records after safety concerns. They call it containment, Gray explained, his voice hollow. Species that develop too quickly are seen as threats to stability. Earth's rapid progress from simple flight to space travel in less than a century frightens them. Walker studied the translated documents carefully. The treaty wasn't about protecting the galaxy from us. No, Gray agreed. It was about making sure we could never challenge them. They're not preparing for our aggression, Commander. They're preparing to eliminate our potential. The division among the crew vanished overnight. Even those who had doubted now understood the truth. The Council's friendly face hid darker intentions, not immediate destruction, but a slow, controlled decline of human civilization. I'm sorry I doubted, Gray told Walker privately. I needed to be sure. Walker put a hand on his shoulder. You did the right thing. Questioning is how we avoid becoming what we fear. With renewed purpose, the team returned to work. The ship, now officially named the Defiance, was no longer just a contingency plan. It was humanity's best hope for a future free from alien control. As Walker looked at the half-finished vessel through the viewport, he felt a mix of pride and urgency. They were building more than a ship. They were building a chance. The alarms blared throughout Phoenix Base. their urgent wail bouncing off metal walls. Commander Walker ran to the control room, where screens showed a Council deep space monitoring ship just entering the outer asteroid belt. They've detected something, Reed said, his fingers flying over the controls. Power surges from our last engine test. Walker's mind raced. The Defiance wasn't ready. Key systems remained unfinished. Weapons were installed, but not fully calibrated. The revolutionary drive system worked, but not at full power. How long until they reach us? Walker asked. 3 hours, maybe 4 if the asteroids slow them down, Rivera answered from another console. Walker made the hardest decision of his life. Launch the ship. The room fell silent. Everyone stared at him. But Commander, Dr. Morgan protested, we're not ready. Half the internal systems aren't connected. The outer hull has gaps in 3 sections. We have no choice, Walker said firmly. If they find this base, everything we've worked for ends. At least in space, we have a chance. Walker activated the station-wide communication system. All Phoenix personnel, this is Commander Walker. We are launching immediately. This is not a drill. All crew assigned to the Defiance, report to your stations. Everyone else, begin erasing all project data and prepare to evacuate. The next 2 hours were controlled chaos. Essential supplies were loaded onto the ship. Engineers rushed to connect critical systems. Crew members said hasty goodbyes to those staying behind. Dr. Reed found Walker on the bridge. Commander, we've managed to get life support stable. Engines are at 40% capacity. It's not pretty, but she'll fly. Walker nodded. That's all we need for now.